We are so delighted to have Wayne Youngblood do a presentation for us. He just sent out an email yesterday or this morning listing all of his many commitments that he has. We know he's a very busy man. As a dealer and a lifelong philatelist, Wayne has so much knowledge and insight into our wonderful hobby, and he generously shares it with others. I am honored that he is willing to share his time with us tonight. He does have a page on Stamping Ground with a link, and he sends out a newsletter. He has a Substack and shares his knowledge, and I think you'll find it very interesting. I love getting the updates. I encourage you all to follow him there. So we are looking forward to his spicy presentation this evening. And with that, we will turn it over to you, Wayne.
All righty. Well, I guess I will use all those many, many years of specialized knowledge to talk about taco stamps tonight. And if my voice goes out, it's because my sauce was a little bit too much for me at lunch. So this evening, being Taco Tuesday as it is, let's talk about stamps. You'll notice a somewhat familiar looking face there. I actually used to have a hot sauce business years ago, and I was known as early .com days as hotsauceguy.com. That has since gone defunct, but I'm still here. So about those taco stamps, it's funny. And over the years, and of course, many of you know that I have a number of different interests in topicals. And I finally thought, well, as much as I love tacos, I should form a specialized collection of tacos on stamps. So here we go. Of course, you see the AI generated one there. That's there primarily because there really isn't a whole lot. So we'll start out. The first taco stamp I ever found was the Swedish one down below, and it's great. It also includes avocados, which is one of my, and peppers, a couple of my other topicals. I do not know why Sweden decided to honor tacos on their stamps because it's not exactly a native food, but I was happy nonetheless. The cover behind it shows the Barnston and it's actually Tacoma, but it comes out Barnston and Taco RPO. So that I felt that had certainly an appropriate place in my taco collection. Recently, in the last couple of years, 2009, St. Thomas issued a stamp showing tacos and salsa and the whole thing here. Again, it does describe that it's from Mexico, but it's not a national food as far as I know. There's same thing with Azerbaijan, which just last year issued these beautiful taco stamps with a lady in the back showing making tortillas, and you've got the lime strip, all kinds of wonderful good things there. But in terms of tacos on stamps, that's about it. Hope everybody enjoyed the presentation. That's tacos on stamps for you. However, there are other areas we can go to. There are postcards. Postcards are a bit better, but again, they're not very philatelic. We don't have the stamps or the postmarks or things like this. And of course, if you know me, you also know that I like a lot of the beyond the catalog things, postmarks and meter impressions and Cinderellas and anything that would tie into a topical that I'm dealing with. This is a very early view of a Taco Bell restaurant. You can tell by the station wagon here. We must be looking at late 60s. And of course, they used to have their little Mexican guy with a serape in front, much like big boy restaurants, only for tacos. Going a bit earlier, we have Jerry's Taco Inn somewhere out in California. You can see one of the patrons out here on the sign here. But breakfast, lunch, and dinner, Jerry's Driving, you can get Pepsi there and all the tacos that you can possibly eat. There are a few other taco postcards, but nothing that's that great. But we can build a taco through stamps. So don't despair. We'll get there here shortly. But we should probably start with a technical definition of a taco. So you've got the taco shell here, which is preferably a corn tortilla. Just above that, you have the meaty goodness, which is whatever protein you choose to put in there. Molten cheese. Do not forget the molten cheese. That's an important part of not only burning your mouth, but having a great time while you're eating. Uh, Rabbit food. Of course, that would include anything tomatoes and or lettuce and such. Breath ruiners, if you like avocados and onions and things like that. And salty circles. Salty circles are very important if you're having a taco supreme, which you probably want sour cream, what I didn't put here as well. But that would be black olives. They're a very nice thing to have. And incognito fruit, which typically would describe tomatoes. Anatomy of a crisp taco, however, involves the taco shell, seasoned beef, cheddar cheese. A lot of places, including most taco chains that are gringo run, uh, put the cheese on top of everything else, which is really not a good thing. You've got to really have the cheese right on top of that hot meat to blend in, get all the fatty goodness going and everything too. And then put your fresh stuff up on top. And it's also easier to peel off if you don't like vegetables, but that's there. So it all starts here. Here's an 1880s era advertising cover from Farm and Garden magazine. And of course, we don't get any of our ingredients for making tacos anywhere than other than the pretty much the garden. So this is a magazine that ran out of Philadelphia in the late 1800s. Here is a postmark from Farmer, Washington from 1929 and from 1948, Garden, Michigan. So again, adding to that thing there. Uh, but then you've got to have the whole thing put here in one. So we've got Templin's ideal seeds and plants, and of course, we have stuff here that doesn't represent tacos. We've got a bunch of grapes and a cantaloupe and stuff like that. But we do have tomatoes and corn and other things that tie into it. This is from Ohio in 1903. A nice Doan postmark. Again, this is one of the extra type of things. Whether you're exhibiting or just collecting, can add greatly to your collection. Here's one I'll admit this is somewhat contrived, but nonetheless, this was a bit of junk mail I received some years ago from Hobby Farms magazine. And I thought, well, this is a great thing. It was 42-cent postage rate at the time. So over the bulk rate permit, I put the 3-cent gardening and horticulture stamp and the 39-cent pepper stamp from the US to make up the 42-cent rate. So this is a very rare example of a gardening and taco related cover. Taco postal history, I guess would be. This is a first day cover from Finland, and you can see they have a number of varieties of peppers going on here. And this is the section we're into now. You've got stir-fried vegetables going in the pan. I love the approach of the cachet on this simply because you've got this lovely watercolor art moving into what looks like an initial sketch. And then, of course, the stamps are really quite nice too. You've got the peppers, there's basil and all kinds of goodies here. It's good to know before we move much further into peppers exactly what peppers are. So, in the world of peppers, if you're not familiar with them, a jalapeno pepper, when it's green or red, is a jalapeno. When it's dried out and smoked, it's a chipotle. Poblano pepper, when it's green, is a poblano pepper. When it's dried out, it's an ancho pepper. And so on. And Anaheim pepper becomes a Colorado chili or ground red chili. Mirasol becomes Guajillo, Serrano becomes Chili Seco, and so on. And so a lot of peppers change their characteristics, whether you're using them fresh or dried, or smoked and dried, or any number of different ways, roasted and frozen, or whatever you choose. But this was a nice chart of some of the differences. Nice, again, caches feed in nicely to collecting areas. In this case, this is a cache, Fred Collins, for the crops of the Americas. And in this case, again, it's the pepper stamp. And this shows Anaheim peppers, which are both red and green chilies. And he has all kinds of nice peppers here, including a Ristra and a Horno. This is an outdoor oven. for firing things and a nice batch of chili. Now, he did misspell chili peppers. If you're talking about chilies, the peppers, it's Chile. If you're talking about chili, the food, then it's Chili. But nonetheless, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous cachet. Again, we're not going to be comprehensive here, but Brazil featured several different species of peppers on an issue several years ago. Um, Again, this is beautiful. I chose to show this sideways so you can see the artwork better, but this is from Vatican City. Now, why the Vatican would choose to feature chili peppers is beyond me, but nonetheless, it's some gorgeous artwork, and these would look to be Serrano peppers likely. Mostly capsicum is what you see. That's the genus for most peppers. Here we have a certificate of mailing. This is kind of a scarce bit of postal history again that you can apply to most any topical that you want if you can find it. But when you mail something for a fee, and I believe the fee is now somewhere around $1.75 or something like this, you can fill this out, and it proves that you mailed something on a certain day. And that's it. It doesn't provide any indemnity or anything else. But certificates of mailing are really a rather scarce form of postal history. And as you can see here, for this one, this is a piece I mailed to the Netherlands in 2007 and used some of the pepper stamps as well as other things to fill that rate. And then a nice poster stamp from California, the Crescent chili peppers. Again, advertising one of the types of peppers that they had available there. Here we have postmarks that represent different types of peppers. So you've got basically Chile, New York, which is the soup spelling, not the pepper spelling. North Chile, New York. Who knew that there was both a North and a South Chile? Chile, Indiana, Chile, Wisconsin. There's several different chilies around the country, but then ones that describe specific peppers. So you have Ancho, New Mexico, Arboles, Colorado, and Arbol is a type of pepper, Daddle, New Mexico, and Hatch, New Mexico. Again, all different types of peppers. Before we move on any further, Jeff, do we have any questions up yet?
Yes, Wayne, can a tachometer measure the heat index of an individual taco?
I think maybe he was being fun with the word, going maybe a tachometer or something.
Oh, exactly. But if you're not aware already, they do measure the heat of individual peppers by the Scoville units. And so Scoville is the name of the fellow who came up with the system in the early 1900s. And his rating of peppers came down to how many teaspoons of sugar would it take to neutralize the heat on your tongue. And so, for example, a jalapeno pepper usually ranks somewhere between 7,000 and 9,000 Scoville units. So if you took that pepper, then you'd want to have 7,000 to 9,000 teaspoons of sugar immediately if you wanted to clear that out. Or if you want to get into other peppers, such as the ghost pepper things, now you're talking close to 1,000,000 teaspoons there. So the Scoville unit is simply the number of teaspoons of sugar that it would take to neutralize the heat. But the tachometer, yes, thank you. So here we have a nice first flight cover from San Juan, Puerto Rico in 1930 to, and you have the cachet, which is actually canceled over the stamps themselves. And why do we have this in our collection of taco stuff? Because it was sent to Cayenne, French Guiana, and here's the Cayenne postmark, and of course Cayenne is one of the most popular forms of chili peppers. Then we get into some of the wonderful cancels available. We've got the running chili pepper here from the, and again, who knows why they chose a chili pepper, but the actual event here is 100 years of rural delivery in Yountville, California. But they chose a running chili pepper for their mascot. And then Mesilla Valley Chili Fiesta in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And of course, Las Cruces is huge for growing chili, so there's no doubt why they chose that there. This one's a little bit more difficult to see, but this is from La Paz, Indiana. La Paz, of course, is a city in Brazil. But the killers up here, and these are some of the 1920s era fancy cancellations, which tie into so many different topicals that we deal with, are actually chili peppers, canceling out the stamps. And then, of course, you've got the great whole enchilada fiesta in Las Cruces with the chili pepper with the Frito Bandito mustache and sombrero, and the whole enchilada, I guess, would be the way to come up with that. Okay, so we have the peppers going. Let's make some tacos. I thought this taco truck was great. If you can't see it too well, it says every taco is hand rolled with exotic Mexican spices by genuine Mayan virgins, or Carlos, depending on who's available. That's some of the best taco truck advertising I've ever seen. So getting into making tacos, start out with tortillas. So we've got this 1910 postcard. In this case, it's mailed from somewhere in Texas. It couldn't quite make it, probably Amarillo, I believe. But it shows a couple of women making tortillas. Here's a metate, which they use for grinding dried corn before making the into masa, which is what they end up creating tortillas with. You can see a raw tortilla in her hand before she starts firing it. Oddly enough, the card was printed in Germany. Here's another card from, again, early 1900s. This is actually a real photo postcard, and it shows a young woman rolling out corn tortillas and then firing them over a stone fire on a grating here, or not a grating, a flat surface, and all of her firewood to do that. So now we've got the tortillas made. We've got to figure out what kind of protein we're going to put in there. So in this case, we've got from Great Britain this nice bit of Jersey cow going in. Any number of cuts available. Of course, you can have asada, which is steak. You can have ground beef. One of my favorites is lengua. If you're not familiar with lengua, that's the tongue of the cow. But you can also have brains and pretty much whatever else you want from any of the animals to throw into the tortillas. So you've got the beef. Again, where's the beef? You've got the Texas Longhorns from Texas University here. You've got this wonderful Mexico stamp from the Exporta series showing all the various cuts of beef you can get. And of course, one of my favorites, one that probably won't be found in every taco collection, but nonetheless a $1 Trans Mississippi with the Western Cattle in a Storm. And now you want pollo, or chicken. So here you can't see this is a nice advertising cover. You can't see the cachet very well, but it's an underprinting, a very light underprinting of pink rooster and a hen. So if you want your chicken tacos, here's the beginning station. So an RPO cancel on the cover itself. Match and medicine stamp. Here's again, this is J.W. Eisenhardt's matches from the 1860s. And again, why they chose a rooster as a mascot, I don't know, but it's a great portrait of one. And here it is. This is a 1915 poster stamp from, I believe, the Faroes at this point, with a chicken on it. Or puerco. We want pork. This cute little piglet can be in your taco if you wish. Or there's Porky Pig, or Hungarian pork, if you prefer. And of course, queso, or cheese. This is a nice Wisconsin poster stamp from the 1940s. And as you can see, there's this nice little wedge out of a cheese at any time. And it's got the whole cheese wheel here as a clock. Or this one I like from France. It's a little bit more subtle. You see the whole wheel of cheese here, again with a wedge cut out, which is typically how you see cheese illustrated. And a Swiss cheese mountain behind here, and a couple of cows sitting on the edge here. This is an all-purpose design. Lettuce. You'll of course want lettuce on your taco as well. So here's again, we feature the Vatican City once again with a nice big head of lettuce here. Again, why the Vatican is featuring lettuce, I can't tell you. And then a U.S. Forever stamp that features a classic illustration of a head of lettuce. Tomatoes, another ingredient. Again, as we go up, you've got the protein, the meat on there, then you've got the cheese, and you've got the lettuce, and now you've got the tomato topping it all off. Here's a nice bit of exporter stamp showing tomatoes and from a tomato company or produce company. So you've got the double whammy on that. These are some of the more interesting ones I've seen. These are Oregon and Washington melon and tomato marketing agreement stamps. State and local revenue stamps, again, if you've not checked into those for the topics that you are particularly interested in, there's a wealth of material available here. And again, in this case, we have the 50-cent and the $1 stamp. And again, this is all marketing agreements. There was a tax on that in Oregon and Washington during the 1930s. Doesn't actually picture the tomato, but it's got a nice picture of the guys shaking hands. Washington State had a tomato and cucumber producers marketing agreement, which is again very similar to this, but a totally different tax. And again, you can find this for many, many different topics. Here's the Reynoldsburg, Ohio Tomato Festival with the smiling pair of tomatoes off to the left here. And of course, the USA Forever stamp, this out of the same group as the lettuce stamp came from, which were some gorgeous, gorgeous stamps. Well, once all that's done, you're probably going to want some sauce on your, some sort of hot sauce on your taco. So for that, although Tabasco is not necessarily my sauce of choice, here's a great advertising cover from Tabasco in 1981. It's interesting that to me, and again, I don't know why, but this is their brand name. This is what they can do. They show their traditional Tabasco bottle, but without the logo or the label. Just an interesting detail. And then here's a first day cover, and this is, I believe, an art craft cachet from Avery Island for the wildlife conservation stamp, but it was also an advertising first day cover, and you can see McElhenney and Company, producers of Tabasco sauce, sponsored this advertising first day cover. And again, a lot of times during the 1950s and 60s in particular, companies would contract with Artcraft or some other cachet maker to produce a limited run of first day covers for their company. And what they would do is they would then send them out anywhere from a few hundred to several thousand to their clients and to heads of various companies. The letter inside typically will read something to the effect of, here's these stamps will become rare someday. Here's your official souvenir of this. We chose to send this to you because we like you and we want your money or whatever. It drew attention to the product. It drew attention to the company. Most advertising executives felt that if they were able to produce something like this, is something that would be saved, and in many cases it was, and made for good advertising. And so again, this is a good example of an advertising first day cover. You can find them from many different fields and represented by many, many different stamps. And again, you can tie it into dozens of different types of topicals. So with that, go to a tasteful finish, and I wonder if anybody has questions, comments, and we can talk about tacos some more.
So Wayne, Alan in the chat said you realize that plants that originated in the Americas are chilies, and peppers are generally the size and shape of a pea.
Well, and this is one of the and this goes far beyond tacos and peppers, but it's funny. A lot of people don't realize that virtually every form of chili pepper, sweet pepper, any other kind of pepper, or for that matter, potatoes and squash originated in the Americas, North America and South America. So even though a lot of these date back hundreds and hundreds of years into Europe and Asia and other places, they originated in the Americas, and peppers are one of those. Now the peppers, we'll disagree, Alan, a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of them still out there that are the size and shape of a pea, and some of those are like chili tepins and such, and some of the wild pepper types now are tiny like that. But there were always larger peppers too. Certainly the breeding has produced some amazing peppers over the years. And Columbus is responsible for them. Yeah, he was one of the first to take back peppers to the old country. Okay.
Robert also asked, no fish tacos?
Good point. I tend to, coming from the desert Southwest, I tend to not think of fish tacos so much, but certainly they're a valid protein, and I probably could have found a very nice, and still could after to add to my collection, a nice fish to add to fold into my taco collection. Great catch.
Bunny also said the Oregon-Washington revenue stamps show hands shaking across the Columbia River from the Oregon and Washington sides.
Oh, right. Thank you. No, that's a great observation. And again, feeds even more into the whole agreement aspect to that. Thank you. That's a great catch.
Jennifer asked, so that Artcraft first day cover was available plain and with advertising?
Well, yeah. So the advertising, and this is one of the things where, and I think collectors and exhibitors are just beginning to discover this now. Artcraft, and again, Artcraft produced more of them than anybody else. But if you had bought cachets for that stamp, for that 1971 wildlife conservation stamp, you would have only been able to purchase the original Artcraft cachet for that. The companies that licensed it out or contracted with them, these were actually special, different additional printings, and these were not available to anybody other than the clients that they were advertising for. And a lot of those are really, even though their prices don't really show it that much yet, are much scarcer than any regular first day cover. Some first beginning to get there. Some advertising first day, most advertising first day covers at this point are selling for $10 and up, but some of them are into the hundreds now because they are so scarce. And again, if they represent perfectly your topical, then it's got to go.
Okay, this one I'm going to butcher. Vera just in the chat, she said that is it McElhenney Company is located on Avery Island, Louisiana. So the tie-in on the wildlife conservation first day cover is a more natural one than most commercial first day covers.
It's complex. It's a very natural tie-in, but it's one that most people, actually, let me go back to that. Most people would not necessarily catch right away. Let's see if I can go back here. Yeah, so you've got none of these, the California condor, the polar bear, and the trout, none of these are really native in any way to Louisiana. But you got some alligators down there. But this is, again, this isn't a tie that most people would necessarily put together, but they had some savvy marketing director who was able to make this tie-in. And again, with other topics and with other stamps, like, for example, one of my favorite ones on a completely different topic is if you remember, the 4-cent Fort Ticonderoga stamp of 1958 of the United States. Ticonderoga brand pencils created its own cachet. It didn't even contract with a commercial. Yeah, it contracted with Ticonderoga pencils, and it's a gorgeous cachet. And some of these are out there as well. There was I'm suddenly going blank, but there was a petroleum company down in Texas that had its own mascot, Randy Oil Drop or something to that effect. And they must have produced probably close to 20 different caches over about a 6-year period. And they were able to find some tie into petroleum and the stamp that was being issued in every case. And of course, the advertising copy on the letter would always show that too.
In response to no fish tacos, Bonnie also said, or shrimp tacos.
Right. Well, and I've often mentioned this before too, is you can make a taco out of virtually anything. There are some, if you've there for a while, and I guess I was doing this more during the pandemic than anything else. I was trying to find some of the most disgusting tacos in the world and feature them on Facebook.
Yeah.
And there's everything from rotten fish to all kinds of creatures that you don't necessarily want to know anything about. That if you fold it between a tortilla and put enough hot sauce on, sure, you can eat it.
Mm-hmm. It's not tacos, but the author John Scalzi on his blog over the decades has had some truly bizarre burrito recipes.
Right? Yeah, it's amazing.
In the chat, Larry shared an image of a New Mexico license plate that shows some peppers there. And Jennifer mentioned that that Wildlife First Day cover has your fish for the fish tacos.
Oh, right. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, so we are covered with fish tacos. Thank you.
That's right. You're covered.
Just not the shrimp.
No, right. Well, there may be some shrimp, under the trout somewhere, if you imagine hard enough.
Inside the alligator.
Yeah.
Right.
Foster in the chat said that the Wildlife Conservation First Day cover is not the standard art craft cachet for the issue. Rather, it's a separate design.
Yeah.
Percy Oil Drop, the mascot of the Texas Refinery Company.
Yes, thank you. Texas Refinery Company. And again, they created, there's a whole series of them, and they created their own caches. They didn't contract with Artcraft or anybody else. And they not only, and again, they mailed them to executives, they mailed them to employees, they mailed them to important principals of other countries and companies and such. And they did everything from first day covers to actually promoting their employees. Sometimes if an employee reached a milestone, they created a special cachet and found a first day that they could tie into. And it's an amazing series. John Hotchner and I both have written about them in the past. It's probably about time to do so again, but it's a really cool series. And again, there's numerous topics represented by Texas company. Thank you, Foster.
Yeah.
Robert mentioned spaghetti tacos too. That's one I haven't heard of.
It's one I've seen on Facebook. I've never bothered to try it, but apparently one of the things that people do is they take, or at least the ones I've seen, canned spaghetti and heat it up and dump it into a corn taco shell and have a spaghetti taco.
Yeah, my son has made them. I'm not a fan.
But he does enjoy them apparently.
What he does with them is up to him.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've seen other things where people have interwoven strips of bacon and cooked them to make the taco shell. Or any number of different ways to shorten your lifespan.
Yeah. Or starting with a bag of tortilla chips and adding the stuff into there. I mean, it's
well, and that brings me to the next thing, and I don't have a stamp to advertise it, but I've been seeing some disturbing reports lately that the taco salad somehow originated in Disneyland, and that's a false narrative. The creator of Fritos, and I forget his name offhand, had a restaurant. He was an early financial backer of Disneyland, and he had a restaurant out there when they first opened in 1955. And he created this little bowl, and he called it a tuck cup, TAC-CUP, basically an early formed corn tortilla that he then filled with taco fillings and called it a tuck cup. And they're saying that he created the taco salad. But I just posted on Facebook earlier today. No, that's indeed not true. There's a taco salad recipe from 1954 from some lady who loved tacos and couldn't find tortillas anywhere, and so she, the idea that he invented, he certainly finessed it and popularized it, but I said don't let big food take over the narrative here.
E. Borsting said, Wayne, very interesting presentation. There are so many different directions a collector can go. Your last slide showed a man licking a stamp, a 3-cent Lincoln stamp. Fun addition to a Lincoln collection.
Oh, true. And that's actually that's actually still from a 1930s movie.
I love the creativity. This was very inspiring. If you've ever, I keep thinking I want to do an exhibit and I don't know how to make a story, but you just took something very common and made a great story with lots of very interesting items. And so that's very inspiring.
Well, thank you. And again, I really am just scratching the surface here. I joke a lot about tacos and talk a lot about tacos, and I like tacos for that matter. But anyway, all this stuff. When I decided to actually look for tacos on stamps, like I showed you, there's like 4 in the world. Well, that doesn't have to stop you. We can make tacos, and again, we just scratched the surface. But the types of things that I showed here, hopefully, can apply to virtually any topic. I mean, you can find, again, if you can't find the stamps, you can find stamps that relate to it somehow, or cancellations, or cachets, or revenue stamps, or poster stamps, or any number of different things that would make your collection so much more interesting. And so I had fun with this. Thank you. And I guess in the shameless self-promotion portion of the program, I don't have a lot of things for sale on my website, but there's a lot of things to read. So if you wanted to go to wystamps.com, I have a lot of articles posted there. But more importantly, I have, Jennifer mentioned Substack. I try to publish 2 articles a week there on average, sometimes more, occasionally less. But that's simply at wayneyoungblood.substack.com. You can always see stuff. You can subscribe for free. There's the option for paying, which I don't, that's not what I'm there for. But if you want full access to all of the archives, that's there for that. But you can subscribe for free, and it's and I try to provide interesting and unusual stuff there. Thank you very much for inviting me. I enjoyed this, and it's always fun to talk.
Yep. Thank you so much, Wayne. And thanks for coming tonight, everybody. We really appreciate it.